Hello everyone, this is Anjum. Welcome back to my channel Sahitya Abhyasa Academy. Again, today I'm doing a class on literary criticism, the continuation part of literary criticism. Today we shall study the types of literary criticism. Again, it is a syllabus of MA first semester paper 2 unit 1. Okay. Yesterday in my previous class we had discussion about what is literary criticism. Yes, criticism in a literature and the functions of literary criticism, etymology of word criticism, and of course definitions of literary criticism. Now we'll move on types of criticism, types of literary criticism, types of criticism. The first, textual criticism, we can observe as textual criticism. Historical criticism, by seeing the work, what are the ways we criticize on the text? In a first way, by textual criticism we can do on that particular work, and historical criticism and a moral criticism, biographical criticism about his biography, we can criticize on his biography. And formalist, what are the languages he has been used, the structure, the form, the style, yes, the what called the punctuation marks, figures of speech, terms, what are the terms he has been utilized in his work, yes. And the comparative criticism, by taking one work and taking another work and compares that work, that is what comparative criticism. Shall see clearly about the definition of each criticism. Okay, thematic criticism and eco-criticism, queer theory, post-colonial criticism, and post-structuralist or a deconstructive criticism. Very interesting topic 1. And structuralist criticism. So these are the basically we have seen the types of criticism. Let's begin with the major types of literary criticism. The first one is textual criticism. What is textual criticism? The original word of a text means it compares different versions of a literary work to reconstruct the most accurate version. If you observe Geoffrey Chaucer's work, Canterbury Tales, and William Shakespeare's any one of work like Othello, you will find out the differences of language. Differences are used on the words. Different words are used in that particular work. So different version of literary work. Take the Old English literature one work, Middle English literature one work, and early modern literature one work, modern English literature one work. You will see the differences each of the works. So here we study about the textual, means comparing about or a original wording of a text. What are the words has been used in that particular work, whether it is Old English, Middle English, Modern English, or utilization of French words, Latin words. Yes, such kind of a observation is called textual criticism. Furthermore, to reconstruct the most accurate version, exactly to reconstruct. For example, in a Sanskrit word, Lakumi, coming from Lakshmi is coming from the Lakumi. Getting my point? In a Old English, sun. This is what the word of sun. In a modern English, it is a sun. So, while observing the words, try to reconstruct the most accurate version. When you start to criticize that particular work on the basis of words, on the basis of what kind of a words he has utilized in that particular, and try to reconstruct that word in your own way, that the word that should accept in the whole world, in a literary world, in a literature world. Okay, and use mainly for ancient or a historical text. Just I told you, it is mainly observation of ancient and historical text. Observe the Nadugannada, Madhyagannada, and Hosagannada. What you find in that language? there will be so means there you can see so much differences of each era, each period's language. Just like take the example of Shakespeare's plays or a Bible manuscript. If you have observed such books, you will come to know that words meaning, what are the words they have used in that particular word. So being I am criticizing this work in a textual way, now my turn to criticize this work in a utilizing the such a accurate word on that particular word. Here we can see John Donne has used the word called sun. Instead, it should write sun in a early modern period. So this is how I have criticized on the text. That is what called textual criticism. So if different copies of Shakespeare play spell a character's name differently, textual critics decide which version is most authentic. Very nice, very nice. See, the Shakespeare's play, a character's names. For example, Desdemona. Okay, na? Or Ophelia. One of my teacher pronounced like Ophelia, Othello, Fairy. So this is what I'm telling to you here is that if each character is, if every country writer try to spell the particular name of that William Shakespeare's characters' names in his own way. Okay, na? That is what called in a different way. Yes, someone called the London. We are Indians, we pronounce like a London. The should show the high kind of a pitch on that word. What about the native speaker? They spell like a London. So how that the character names of William Shakespeare's play takes in a different way, even textual critics decide which version is most authentic. It is a duty of a criticizing a work in a textual way. So it is his accurate answer should give which word should be spelled in a proper way. This is what called textual criticism, which has taken to the part to show his judgment towards to that textual criticism. Getting my point? Yes. If you observe so many words pronounced in a different way, so the person who takes care to make this work in a textual, it is his duty to pronounce in a proper way. That is what called textual criticism. Hope so you got it. Fine. Next, formalism. That is another name is new criticism. What kind of formalism? Okay. The focus of form, structure, language and a style of a text. What are the form? How that words formation is built in that particular work, and what are the structure, whether it is grammatically or ungrammatically or without using any helping words, has it used. We can see there is no any proper structure pattern of Old English literature works. You just go and observe the text of Old English and Middle English periods works. There is no any proper utilization of grammar pattern. So this is what. So here formalism means the writer who is focusing on the text, that is to form, structure and language. What kind of a language he has used? Yes, a very very accurate kind of a language, or a sophisticated, or a Old English, Middle English, somewhat. And a style of a text. What are the style? Yes, whether we have observed the figures of speech. Yes, like punctuation marks can we find in that particular work. That is what called formalism criticism. So not the author or a context. Here he won't focus, he won't give the focus on the author or his background more than he focused on text. Studying text is better than studying the author. Here author's placement, author's importance is not. Here they won't give, means textual formalism critic won't give the knowing about the author. Instead that they focus on text. Further it tells what? Analyzing poems meter. Yes, meter, symbolism, structure without referring to a poet's life. See, if I give a poem William Wordsworth, one of poem means what you will write about that poem after reading. Before reading this poem, you come means you conclude yourself only. Oh, this is about nature. He speaks about nature, love, emotion by reading the background of William Wordsworth lifestyle. This must not happen while doing the formal criticism. Getting my point? So here analyzing the poem's meter. In a which meter it has written, what are the symbolism he has been used, what are the structure, whether it is written in iambic pentameter, yes, or pentameter, hexameter, what form, what structure he has been utilized. This is way he observed in a text, not a poet's life. This is what called formalism. Hope so you got it. Next, historical criticism. Here the time, period and cultural background of the text. Am I right? Exactly. 2019's whatever the works published during 2019, we see that COVID-19's existence in their work, because in this era we see that COVID, a pandemic kind of a disease has spread all over the world, and whoever are put in a quarantine. This is how they feel nostalgic, loneliness, sitting away from their family. This is what we can see the experience of that person who is longing for their partners, their family. See, this is how the time period and the cultural background affects on a reader to write, affects on a writer to write the things. So here historical criticism means here the time period and cultural background of the text. Here the critic criticize his cultural background and his during time period background, not about the text, not about the author's life. Getting my point? During which time he has written, what are the condition of social condition, political background, economical background, cultural background, what was in that movement, what affects him to write this thing. Yes, this is what the cases to study about the historical criticism. Furthermore, examines how the historical context shapes meaning. Exactly. Which thing made to writer to give this works meaning, like, as if the writer has influenced by anything from the historical perspective, he reflect this thing in his work. This is what called historical context shapes meaning. While after reading that particular work which is written on the basis of historical means, it reflects that historical views in that particular works, and consider events, politics and society, and consider events, politics and society when the text was written. I told you, everything must be studied, the moment, in which moment he has written. Yes, that is what called historical criticism. If I want to criticize one of William Shakespeare's work, I should read the condition of 16th century's background, not 21st. Getting my point? This is what studying the 60th century's background is called historical criticism. Hope so you understood. For example, understanding the Charles Dickens novels in a light of the Industrial Revolution. During this time, we can see the Charles Dickens novels reflection, how the industrialization has been seen in the works of novels of Charles Dickens. Fine. What about the biographical criticism? Here we can see the author's life. Here neither text nor language nor historical background, they only focus on author's life. It only focus on author's life. Studies how the author's experiences, how the author's experiences, belief and personality influence the work. Yes, here we can see biographical criticism means how the author's experiences, belief and personality influence the work. So on the basis of belief, on the basis of experience, on the basis of his personality influence to create a work, the work reflects his biographical criticism. Means we can see Gandhiji's My Experimental Truth. Once we read that work, we can able to criticize his biographical life, means biographical way. That is what called biographical criticism. Helps to interrupt the symbolism and hidden meanings, how he has lead in his life. Everything we can, if you study about Michael Jackson biography, yes, you would know, you would come to know many more things, many more unknown things, unknown facts, hidden things in his life, what has happened in his life, what are the changes he has made in his personality. That is what called biographical criticism. For example, reading Sylvia's plots, the bell jar, with knowledge of her mental health struggle. Yes, this is what Sylvia Plath's American poet. She has written a book called Bell Jar. We can see the condition of her mental health, which reflects in this work. Means we can see the biographical life story can be seen in her work. That is how we have able to criticize his biography also. That is what called, if you write about his biography, that would be considered as a biographical criticism. What about the moral or ethical criticism? Focus on the moral message of text. What kind of moral message gives in this text? That is what moral criticism. Judge whether a text ethically sound or teaches good values. Yes, whether this text gives moral values or spread the immorality. This is what searching the moral values is called moral criticism. Common in ancient criticism, especially about Plato and Aristotle. We can see the moral things in their works. Example, debating the picture of Dorian Gray promotes, condemns vanity and selfishness. Very nice. Yes, we can see that Oscar Wilde's one of famous novel, that is Picture of Dorian Gray, which promotes or condemns vanity and selfishness. Keeping yourself so handsome, so beautiful, that is vanity, and keeping this handsome and beauty till to end of your life, that is what selfishness. What a one of beautiful text it is. Okay, fine. So next, psychological criticism, the inner psychology of a character and sometimes the author while writing this particular work, in writing this particular scene, a moment, what is the condition of that author? What is the condition of that character which is created by the author? Studying about thing is called psychological criticism. Uses theories from Freud or Jung, very nice. So they have utilized this criticism in their work, like explores dreams, desires, unconscious motives. Everyone have dreams, desires, emotions, unconscious. Studying about that thing is called psychological criticism. We can see Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse on the basis of psychological concept, PSY. Okay, na, psychological concept. What it tells, there is a lady, while talking with someone, suddenly she met or she has observed a crush in her past days. That moment she has gone in a past days. She has turns her thought into past days, and suddenly after time again she returned to present moment. Going back to the old days, memories is called psychological concept. That is what stream of consciousness we can call it. Okay, now so here studying about this thing is called psychological criticism. Okay, fine. Furthermore, analyzing the Hamlet's delay in revenge using Freud's Oedipus complex. What is Oedipus complex? Having a relationship with the mother is called Oedipus complex. So here in a Hamlet, his father died, actually murdered by his uncle Claudius. When he knew this thing, that Claudius is the murderer of my father, why he delays himself to take the life of that Claudius? Yes, the reason behind knowing this thing is called psychological criticism. Very beautiful this tragedy. Fine. What about the Marxist criticism? Focus class struggle, capitalism, power and economy in a literature. Class struggle, upper class, lower class. As Othello belongs to the lower class, somewhat Moor community, whereas Desdemona belonged to the upper class. We can see the if something is making them to away from, something is breaking their relationship, means we can see the influence of class struggle. Means here there is one of person, Iago, made to distract or made to tragedy on Othello by this villain. He puts the notion on his mind. You belong to the black community. She is fair, Desdemona. Why she has selected you? Because she is impure. She doesn't have a chastity. She has so many affairs. You are a black. You don't have a right to ask to white. So this is what called class struggle. How he put the notion of feeling himself like I am less than that lady. This is what. And capitalism, power, economy, identifying the literature and put your own words, put your own judgment on that thing is called Marxism. Marxist criticism. Next, examine who holds power and how class systems are represented. If you read the Renaissance period during 16th century, King Henry VIII, how he ruled over England. What is the condition of that people? Are they happy? No. More than they are suffered by his ruling. Yes, this is what we can see the class struggle, capitalism, power, economy, how it has been used in a negative way on the people. Fine. Often reveals hidden political meanings. That is what called satiric, allegorical meaning. Allegorical term is expressed to the hidden things. Hidden things can be seen in only politics. Politics means class struggle. Here it is capitalism, power and economic. This is what called Marxist criticism. In animal form, beautiful example. In an animal form, Marxist critics sees a commentary on class and revolution. Class and revolutions. Okay, now how that fable, allegorical fable has expressed the class and revolution. Is it in a right way or not? The way he has written that animal form, is it considered as a judgmental about the politics? This is what giving the own words on animal form. That is what called Marxist criticism. Of course, it is talking about the women, feminist gender, feminist criticism, gender roles, patriarchy and women's representation, changes male-centered views, highlights female voices, agency and operations. So here gender roles. What society constructed up about men? He should strong, emotionless, no softness. He must be very hard, not to cry. This is what constructed about men. What about female? What about female? She must very soft, emotion one, and sensible, innocent. These are what constructed by the society on female. If you see, these are the things we will be considered as a exact male and female. Yes, if you won't see, these are the things in the gender, means they are not belong to the particular called genders. They might be coming under the LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, third gender or a queer theory. So this is how. So here we can see feminist criticism, how patriarchal society shows their dominance on a woman, which as we can see the breaking ties novel by Sarah Abu Bakr. How her father, Nadira's father, showed the complete patriarchal power on her daughter. On his daughter Nadira. This is what called women's representation. The women are going under oppression. Shoshani, the Balike. Yes, how she faces the violence by the patriarchal rule. This is what called pointing out is called is a feminist criticism. Example, exploring how Jane Eyre asserts the female independence. She wanted to become a female independence. What are the things made her to stop like that? Means this is what called criticism about feminist criticism. Next, reader response theory. Very nice. Here we can see the reader's experience. After reading King Lear, Othello, Macbeth, what I felt from this work, that is experience. Do I happy with that work? Do I feel afraidness towards Macbeth? Do I feel, a kind of a internal conflict in a mind? Why? By making question on Macbeth, why he should listen that three witches word, instead that he forget that one and lead his common life, as he is a very favor, warrior to the Duncan. This is what readers experience about that text, and believes meaning is created by the reader, not just the text. Very nice. Yes. If a film cross 100 days, this is what the spectators, experience. The spectators, the viewers made this movie to move on more than 100 days. Getting my point? That is what called reader response. Believes meaning is created by the reader. So whatever the text it is written, the work it is written, this work if comes to alive in the society, means it is only give the liveness by the reader. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಜೀವ ತುಂಬುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸ ರೀಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಥ್ರೂ ದೇರ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್, ವೆದರ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ inspired by this work or not, somewhat, and not just the text only not plays the prominent role. It is the reader which plays the prominent role, which gives the text alive in the society ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. Fine. And different readers create a different interpretation. Definitely. Yes, according to me, Othello, I gave my own perspective about Othello, about Macbeth, about Hamlet and King Lear, and many more works, Pride and Prejudice. I have my own perspective about that work. That is my response. That is my experience being a reader to reading that text. Getting my point? If you see any film, your friends have different opinion about that movie. It doesn't mean that should have same opinion like yours. No, not like that. That is not considered as a reader's true experience. The true experience comes when he completely understand the text. That is what called reader response criticism. A teenager and a parent might interrupt the catcher in the rate differently. Yes, it is one of a novel. We can see how the teenager and parents, shows their reflection towards in this work. Reflection means their experiences about the particular thing. Okay, fine. Okay, still 4 is there. Structuralist criticism, underlying the system of meaning like a language. Very nice. Myths and a code. That is what structural. If a sentence created in a proper way, sentence should be written in a proper way called, that is structural criticism. Believes that all texts follow the universal structure and based on linguistics and semiotics. Very nice. It is talking about the language, parole and universal structure. Okay, if there is any text which follows the proper structure is called structural criticism. Okay, fine. I can tell this thing in a very deeply while I am doing a theory on structural theory. And reading myths as variations of the same deep structure, hero's journey and binary opposition. Very nice. So if you read any book, kind of a myths arrive in your mind. You won't see the same myths in every reader. Different kind of a perspective arrive while reading the text. That is what called structural criticism. What about the post-structural or a deconstructural criticism? Focus on language instability and multiple meaning. Very nice. If I tell, think about a dog means right now you have imagined yourself white dog or a black dog, small dog or a big dog. Yes, this is what every language means. Each word gives a different kind of a meaning, multiple meaning. That is what called making a judgment on this thing is called post-structuralism, post-structural criticism. Deconstruction finds hidden tensions. Exactly. A deconstructive reading of A Heart of Darkness shows that both criticism and reinforcements of colonialism. Very nice. So, by the heart of darkness, the black people's condition, we can also criticize on that, and also how that British people has colonized the African land. That is also we can read in this text called post-structural criticism. What about the post-colonial? Here also, our India colonized by English, British people. What are the feelings we have gained from their ruling? Effects of colonization. What kind of effects they made on us? They feel as that we are inferior than white people because we don't have culture, we don't have manners. This is what they have pointed in our personality and make ourselves that we are inferior than the white people, we are inferior than the Western culture, we have very weak kind of identity. Yes, this is what challenges Eurocentric literature and highlights the suppressed voices and cultural conflict. Highlights suppressed by the domination of white people. What are the uh, experience I have got within in their means with their domination on me? That is what called post-colonial criticism. For example, things fall apart. Very nice example. Colonialism disruptions of American culture is central. As American culture, there we see the dominance of white people culture. This is how collapse the culture called African. When it takes the enter in a African land, the white people's culture takes the enter in a African land, and itself African culture is collapsing. So this is how we can see the domination of post-colonial, domination of British Empire on the people of any land which is colonized by the British people. What about the queer theory? It is about the gender sexual identity. Sexual identity. If a boy behaves like a boy means he's a masculine one. Girl behaves like a girl means she's a feminine one. What about if a boy behaves like a girl? That is not coming under the proper word called either male or a female. If a girl behaves like a boy, if a girl keeps a relationship with a girl, lesbian. If a boy keeps a relation with a boy, gay. If a boy keeps a relation with a girl and a boy, bisexual. Neither feeling the effects of attraction, third gender. Yes, this is how it is. It talks about these are the things is called queer theory, that is LGBTQ perspective, and questions fixed gender and role. So these category people make the question on structured means social construction thing. What the society constructed over male and female, they made the question on them. Yes, this is what called queer theory, and explores how literature treats queer identities. Queer identities, how literature means how literature helps to explore the themes of or struggling of queer theory in society through the form of literature. And the last one we can see, sorry, the picture of Dorian Gray for hidden. Sorry for this. I should publish this lesson also. Huh. So this is how we can see the picture of Dorian Gray for hidden references to homosexuality. What about the eco-criticism? Focus on nature and environment. How literature represent ecology and climate and human nature relationship. So we can see such themes in a many kind of works. So here a writer absorbed that one and make his own judgment on that thing. That is what called eco-criticism. Reading The Road, the Cormac theory, as a warning about environmental destruction. Here we can see how that road, the environmental work is going to spoiling in this work. This is how making own judgment on that particular work is called eco-criticism. Hope so you have understood the types of literary criticism. These are the criticism which describe, which analyze, which judge by saying the particular work. Okay, na? Hope so you have understood this class. Shall see. When the term comes about criticism, it is not only we studied the introduction, definitions, and types of it. There is many more things, the functions of criticism and the timeline of criticism from classical period to the modern. I need to tell these are the things also. If it is possible, I will tell this. Otherwise, I shall move on to objections of poetry by Plato. In my next class, I will take class on objections of poetry by Plato. Okay, until, take care. Bye bye. Thank you for watching my video. If you like my video, please like it. Thank you. Bye bye.